This is the Screaming Pods Network on ScreamingPods.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
We interrupt this program to give you a bulletin just received from one of our naval units at sea.
Hello, what have we here?
My God, it's full of stars.
Xenopod, from the year 5000.
Here we go to the show. You are listening to XenopodFromtheyear 5000. The first zero stands for the ones place, the second zero stands for the tens place, the third zero stands for the hundreds place, and the 5 is for 5,000. Motherfuckers, you are listening to Xenopod from the year 5000, man. I'm your special guest. My name's Mike Delaney. I should not be here right now. Let me throw it to the fucking host with the lot, with the most, the host with the most. Sean, look up how to spell my last name, DeRager. Go. Sean, it's your show. Go.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Xenopod from the year 5000. Of course, Mike Delaney on the microphone with me. We are cuddled in the corner of a room, a fireplace in front of us, doing this podcast from a shared sleeping bag.
That is true. We bought the sleeping bag from any mountain. Not like literally any mountain, but like a store in the Bay Area called any anyway, it's like, it's a really warm, cuddly sleeping bag. We love it. It's great, yeah. Right, Sean? Flannel.
That's amazing. And the footsie can keep on going, man. We can keep doing this. This is all good. Today, we are talking about Repo Madness, Repo Man, Repo, the genetic opera, Repo Men, and Repo Chick. So buckle up. None of these films technically are related.
Technically. Sexually, yes.
They were all connected by repossession of certain things. So Mike Delaney, first, before we jump into all that, I like to ask our guests, what is your personal history with science fiction?
Definitely the first science fiction films I watched were the big ones for any young people. Where my young people at? Young people from the 80s.
Hell yes.
I watched Return of the Jedi ad nauseum on VHS at my babysitter spot.
Your VCR may never be the same. It's coming February 25th. Return of the Jedi. It's thrilling. It's dangerous. It's delightful. It's the movie our whole galaxy has been waiting for. So reserve your copy now and invite a friend over. Return of the Jedi from CBS Fox.
But I think the big one that came into my house that I watched ad nauseum to reuse my term from 13 seconds ago was E.T. Steven Spielberg's E.T., man. 1982, right? And I think the big VHS release came out in 84.
Pepsi-Cola is pleased to announce that E.T. has come home on video cassette. And Pepsi is offering a special $5 rebate with the purchase of an E.T. video and Pepsi.
And then I think it was maybe within a year or two after that it really started to saturate the market in just any old store, whether you're at Safeway or Albertsons or Costco or whatever the retailers were at the time. But I remember my mom, who I have a history relationship with, she brought home the E.T. tape, and it had that green, the green band above where the magnetic tape is, and it had the universal cardboard slipcase that had the traditional poster on it. But it was, I think it was like the first edition. So it was whatever that year was when E.T. first came out, and then getting E.T. into the house. And I remember watching that shit like every night. I would watch E.T. And Dee Wallace, you know, of course, as the mom. And I almost said Henry Gibson. I always say Henry Gibson when I mean who, Sean? Who do I mean instead of Henry Gibson? I don't mean Henry Gibson. Henry Gibson is the fucking Nazi from the Blues Brothers and from Laugh-In, and the gay dude with, that wants to get with, William H. Macy and Magnolia. That's Henry Gibson. The Burbs, 1989. Who do I mean? I mean Henry Thomas. That's who I mean. From,
yes, the kid.
Legends of the Fall.
Henry Thomas, yes.
Yeah. From Legends of the Fall and Gangs of New York and fucking E.T. No, so I would spend evenings with Dee Wallace and Henry Thomas, and of course, the lovely, Drew Barrymore. But like any 80s kid, man, I watched E.T. ad nauseum, to use that term a third fucking time within like a 3-minute time span. But I think that and Return of the Jedi were my indoctrinating moments into, science fiction. And then it gets more complicated from there, but I think that's the first big step.
A movie that I watched all the time, and I don't know if I mentioned this on the last show. I don't think I did, but whenever we would go out to rent movies, it would be my pick. And I think I did, I rented Return of the Jedi was my favorite to rent all the time as well. But another movie that I always would pick was Joe Dante's The Explorers.
That's a great fucking movie, man.
Which is just fantastic. I mean, I remember like as I got older, I would watch it, and once it got to the alien children at the end, I was like, oh, that's kind of goofy. But I mean, most of that movie, even as an adult, like I love seeing those kids, getting the plans, for the spaceship and building it, and the friendship there, and man, it's just a great flick, and I highly recommend it, man. That thing needs a glorious baby blue release, in my opinion.
Explorers is Paramount. Paramount needs to get on that shit and release it with Olive or someone on Blu-ray. But Flight of the Navigator, as much as I love Explorers, Flight of the Navigator, man, that's the one I probably watched more, cause it came, I think that came after Explorers, maybe like a year or two after.
Yeah.
But, and that San Francisco Bay Area where I grew up and I still live. So I think that's why I have a connection specifically to that film. But yeah, no, Disney should release Flight of the Navigator, no question. And then Paramount, fucking get on it, man.
Flight of the Navigator, does have a pretty good UK Blu-ray release. If you're interested.
I'm interested, Sean. Can you send me the link?
I'll send you the link. I'll put it in the show notes.
There you go, baby. Let's do it.
Let's jump in to today's features. Let's first of all talk about 1984's Repo Man.
What you got in the trunk?
You don't want to look in there.
Suppose you're thinking about a plate of shrimp. Suddenly somebody will say like plate or shrimp or plate of shrimp out of the blue, no explanation. No point in looking for one either. It's all part of a cosmic unconsciousness.
You read a lot of acid, Miller, back in the hippie days?
Sell that car and send me your money. You don't need that car.
Put it on a plate, son. You'll enjoy it more.
Couldn't enjoy it anymore, Mom. This is swell.
What's this?
Charming friends you got there, Otto.
Thanks. I made it myself.
I had a lobotomy in the end.
Lobotomy? Isn't that for loonies?
Not at all. A friend of mine had one.
I do my best thinking on the bus. That's how come I don't drive, see?
You don't even know how to drive.
I don't want to know how. I don't want to learn, see? The more you drive, the less intelligent you are.
This, of course, directed by Alex Cox, who a couple of years later would direct one of my favorite films of all time, Sid and Nancy.
Is that, Sean, is that true? Sid and Nancy is one of your favorite films of all time?
Yeah, I think it is. I need to rewatch that Criterion Blu-ray, but when I first discovered it, I was kind of going through like my punk rock phase, and that movie was huge in influencing I guess my punk rock history studies when I was younger. So, you know, as far as the development of who I am today, it definitely is high up there on the echelon of favorite films. But Alex Cox,
you just like saying Cox. You heard
Cox.
You said
Yeah.
as many times as you did. And you're like, oh, I'm in daydream land again.
He is a British director. And he has trying to go through his filmography here, but Repo Man, I'm not sure if it was his first feature.
As far as I know, it's 100% his first feature film. Yeah,
it was low budget and this weird kind of futuristic fever dream that he directed. He later would do, of course, Sid and Nancy. And, you know, I'm looking through here and I'm like trying to see if there's other films that I've seen that he's done, but I don't think I've seen a whole lot of his, filmography.
Sean, I don't know how to spell your last name, Duregger. Stop right there.
Yes, sir.
Hold on a second.
Duregger.
Right, but I don't know how to do that. Have you seen Straight to Hell? The Western parody he did with like Joe Strummer from The Clash and
holy shit, no, I have not.
Oh my god, you got to see Straight to Hell.
And it stars Joe Strummer, and I'm here talking about how I grew up and all this punk rock bullshit, and I didn't even know Joe Strummer is in a Western film parody directed by Alex Cox.
Oh, and also Walker, man, with Ed Harris, the Western. Also available from the Criterion Collection, only on standard definition Criterion DVD, but still, hey, ho, yo, you got to get that into your eye space, bro.
I will. I mean, anything Ed Harris is like, hell yeah.
No, Alex Cox made some great movies. So there's like a treasure trove of fucking Alex Cox wonderment out there, man. That I want Sean Duregger to explore.
I will. But Repo Man, baby, he knocked it out of the park on his first try. And I feel like if he did this today, he'd be pulling a Duncan Jones where everyone's going to be shitting on everything he does because it's not as good as his first thing.
Yeah, I think 100% what you just said was correct. Repo Man is such like an ambitious debut in 1984 to like a specific culture sect, with punk rock culture. And he got it so right, so fast, like out of the gate. What's the budget on this thing? Like, $1.5 million? Like it's nothing even by like mid 80s standards, right?
Yeah, it was, 1.5 million?
Yeah, exactly 1.5. So, no, you're 100% correct with your Duncan Jones assessment. And I think, like the Duncan Jones assessment is very key for like 2011, 2010, whenever that movie came out, Moon. But I think even more so, this is like, this is like a first time director with like a very strong vision, like a Jordan Peele with Get Out, where
right.
you're addressing like a very specific culture and time and moment, and bam, here's the fucking script where like everything comes together, and we're gonna put it on the screen, and it's all gonna come out before even this moment evaporates. And I think that's Repo Man. And I think Repo Man, or look, I'll just go back to your Duncan Jones thing. Yes, Alex Cox, if he had to make a second feature in 2018 to follow Repo Man, it wouldn't fucking happen. It'd be like a Jurassic World, Colin Trevorrow type thing. Or have you ever said that man's name out loud? Colin what?
Colin Trevorrow? Trevorrow.
But Sean, have you ever said that name out loud?
You know what? I don't think I have. I just read it. Colin Trevorrow has never come up as like in any conversation other than like tweets.
Yeah, you're not at the coffee shop and you're like, hello, chum, let's talk about Colin Trevorrow's Book of Henry. Like, yeah, it never comes up.
Never happens, no.
You see that COX and you're like, Cox fucks. Like, you know how to say it.
Yeah.
So Cox maybe wouldn't have had the same problem as Trevorrow or Peele or any of these other people. But yeah, no, Sean's 100% correct in that we have this culture now that eats up indie filmmakers that make like a great first feature, and we want them to make Marvel movies or event movies or Netflix movies or Cloverfield movies right after. And it doesn't always happen to the studio's liking, but yeah, I don't think Alex Cox would have gotten to do these cool projects he did after Repo Man if he had made Repo Man in the current climate. That's a long-winded answer.
It is. No. And what's fascinating about Repo Man is, I mean, we're in early 80s, consumer culture, yuppie culture, fear of nuclear war. We got Reaganomics and all that stuff. We got suburban sprawl kind of happening even more. And then you have kind of the rebirth of punk rock in the early 80s. Cause like, you know, punk rock had been around since, I don't know, late 60s, early 70s. And then it kind of in the UK, and then it kind of had its, I guess, an American like resurgence in the early 80s, or we kind of finally had adopted, you know, more of the punk rock stuff over here or something like that. So it's, so the kind of the new wave of punk rock was kind of coming around, and that whole culture and everything. And you know what? I just love this movie so much. And I mean, you have Harry Dean Stanton coming in as a Repo Man, and he wants to train this young kind of degenerate played by Emilio Estevez. And they're not just hunting for like just somebody's car. Like they're hunting for like a Chevy Malibu that may have some sort of like radioactive aliens that can disintegrate you into the trunk. So I mean, this is a high concept plot mixed in with all this kind of political climate.
Right. Yeah. It's high concept in the fact that we have these Reaganomics, and this nuclear, fear slipped into this, sci-fi plot around this Chevy Malibu that has a very high price on its head for repos in the Southern California area. But yeah, in the trunk of this car is what's essentially nowadays we refer to it as a WMD. But in Repo Man, it would have been like a nuclear weapon. It would have been something the commies had, right? Like the Russians, the Ruskies, whatever.
Yes.
But, I should go on record as saying right now that I might not be the best guest for this show, because Repo Man is unapologetically like my favorite movie of all time. I think, we've talked about debut movies, you know, like a Duncan Jones making Moon, or look, I'm going to fucking, really get, sacrilegious here and say like, Orson Welles making Citizen Kane, or the Coen brothers making Blood Simple. Like, I think Repo Man is as good as a debut as a filmmaker or filmmaking team could have, like, in the history of film. American film, international film, whatever. Because, like Sean said, Alex Cox, man. Cox is international. Cox don't fuck with borders. Cox is all over the place. And Alex Cox is British, and he fucked with America and Reaganomics here.
So Repo Man, like, I mean, I believe it had kind of a troubled production. Like the studio, like, didn't even really know what to do with it, or they didn't really, like, the producers were like not really keen on the whole idea, the whole, like, the punk rock meets, you know, science fiction with Ronald Reagan. And so, like, I guess what happened was, in order for him to kind of sell this to the producers, to help sell the movie, instead of just writing out a treatment, he sketched a comic book treatment to help sell the movie. And then he gave it to his, Michael Nesmith, who is a former Monkey, you know, the band, the Monkees.
Right.
And he gave that to Michael Nesmith, and that Michael Nesmith, based on that, decided that he would help finance the film. So then we got rolling along, you know, I guess gave him $1.5 million and just had him just decide to just go out in there and make your crazy little film.
It's all fucking crazy because this predates even that like 80s toyetic, like you have an action figure that ties into a comic book that ties into a television show. Like it predates all that. And Alex Cox is like, well, I guess the way you sell things is through like some kind of visual musical like combination, and we'll do that through like a comic book and maybe playing like Black Flag records or maybe playing the Circle Jerks to a fucking former Monkees. And like it's all super fucking weird because like the Monkees are, you know, at this time, we're thinking of the Monkees as like Saturday morning, like kids show, right?
Yeah.
Sean, you remember watching the Monkees, right?
Oh yeah.
Hey, we're the Monkees, and people say we monkey around, but we're too busy singing to put anybody down.
Even in our youth, you and I watched the fucking Monkees, but then you go back and you explore like the Monkees television show, like from an alternative perspective, or their Bob Rafelson, the BBS movie Head, right? Do you have that beautiful box set that includes Head, written by Jack Nicholson, right?
Oh my God, I don't know.
What the fuck is it? Anyway, you should go. So the Monkees had a movie called Head, which was like a very anti-Vietnam War a film, but also very much like a Monkees film, and also like a 60s psychedelia picture. You put all these things that are happening at the same time together, like the Monkees are on syndicated TV. There's fucking action figures being sold from comic books, making like TV shows, and like there's these crazy songs that are coming. And then Alex Cox is like, yes, we will sell this punk rock movie with very specific LA punk rock bands through this comic book. And it's so fucking crazy that Universal even picked it up in the first place.
So then he decided he wanted Harry Dean Stanton as one of the leads. So he brings the idea. So it looks like, you know, he had to bring everything to whoever was producing this, whether it was Universal or, you know, whether it was the Monkees. I don't know. And so he dropped that Harry Dean Stanton should be in this. And I guess for a while he'd been kind of, he wasn't on the top of anyone's list for supporting roles, but he was on more of the character actor list. And I don't know. They wanted Dennis Hopper instead, but Alex Cox decided to keep on going after Stanton and talk them into bringing Harry Dean Stanton in. Can you imagine like Dennis Hopper in that role?
You know, as Bud, I could imagine. I could imagine.
He'd have a harder edge to him.
Yeah, it's only in my imagination that I could put Dennis Hopper in that role, but like so perfectly, so charming, so laid back, and so like daddy grandpa like is Harry Dean Stanton in this role where you completely trust him. Like I couldn't imagine Dennis Hopper pulling up to me saying like, my wife is gonna give birth and you need to fucking jump her car. Like I'd be scared of that shit like in a second. But Harry Dean Stanton, I'm like, yeah, man, I'll help you out, man. You're a lanky dude.
Yeah.
I got you.
So Alex Cox goes to Henry Dean Stanton's agent, and the agent says, you don't want to work with Harry Dean. You want to work with Mick Jagger. So Harry Dean Stanton's own agent tried to push Mick Jagger for the role.
It's crazy. Like, it's super crazy because all right. So again, full disclosure, this is one of my favorite movies of all time ever. And I think Harry Dean Stanton is so perfect in this role that you hear these like alternative universe stories of like, Dennis Hopper, Mick Jagger. And you're like, what the fuck does this even like mean? But I think what it is, Sean, is I think it's a case of, I think it's a case of like big money seeing value in like small art. Like, I think they read the script and they realized like how quotable it was or how like relevant politically it was. And they're like, this is something Mick Jagger should do, not Harry Dean Stanton, because in fucking 20 years, no one's going to care about Harry Dean Stanton, which is not true. They're going to care about Mick Jagger, which is also kind of true. But like, I think it's like we cock block ourselves sometimes look, I'm not like a major producer or anything, but I think that like we don't have our best interests like at heart all the time, always. Like we want whatever's big to be bigger. We don't want like what's best to be big, you know? And I think they looked at the Repo Man script and they realized how quotable and relevant it was. And they were like, this is big, but they kind of undersell it to Alex Cox. And they're like, well, maybe it'd be bigger if it had this other star attached to it. But that's not true, because I think the real star of the film is Alex Cox. Absolutely. The script, Sean?
Right.
That is one of the most quotable scripts I've ever read in my entire life. Y'all sit around and quote Big Lebowski? I think it's Repo Man.
I quote RoboCop, but you know.
Yeah, no, RoboCop's great. Yeah.
And Top Gun, but that's just me.
oh, Top Gun is just you.
it's just me probably.
RoboCop is like a whole subsect of white internet, but you know.
So Emilio Estevez, he joins the film. I guess they had an issue trying to get him, but he actually went for it. But speaking of Alex Cox and his script, the reason why Emilio Estevez decided to do the role and he kind of fought against his agents was, he said, I was falling on my ass laughing. The script was just hysterical. I said that I had to do this picture. He said that in an interview back in 85. So Alex Cox, his script, basically landed their star. And would you say this helped launch Emilio Estevez's career even more, or where was he at around in 84?
Well, I think the big thing, and you know, Sean, I'll share this story because I have a bleeding heart, but I think the big thing that he did up until this point was The Outsiders, right? Which today, literally today, I was gifted by one of my students who read The Outsiders with me 4 years ago. She discovered it was a movie. She bought it at Walmart and she brought it to me to show me that there's a movie of The Outsiders. And I'm like, yes, sweetheart, I know.
Did she not see that in Coppola. 5th grade?
Stop. But look, that's a testament to how great I am. I don't even fucking show The Outsiders movie. I'm like, that's a great movie. But you know what's better? Reading the fucking book. Reading the book. But no, I think Emilio Estevez, his big thing at that point was The Outsiders?
Yeah, 2-Bit Matthews. Mm-hmm. He had done some TV and stuff up to this point. He was in a movie called Tex.
Oh yeah, Tex! No, that's also S.E. Hinton, who wrote The Outsiders.
I'm going to take your word for it.
You most certainly are. And you'll also take my word that Emilio Estevez is, of course, of lineage of Martin Sheen and Charlie Sheen, which you should. And they are, of course, the sons of Jim Carrey and Brad Pitt, who mated. Jim Carrey and Brad Pitt mated and made Martin Sheen. And Martin Sheen made
yes.
Emilio Estevez.
I'm going to take your word for that one too.
I don't know how old Emilio Estevez was at the time, but for him in 1985, 1984 to say like Repo Man was so funny and that's how he had to do it, that is the fucking funniest script I've ever read. Period.
Can you quote lines off the top of your head? Off the top of your head, Repo Man, favorite Repo Man lines. This is a test. Go.
Hold on. No, I'll do it for sure. But here's something people need to know. Cause I don't know if you listen to other like Screaming Pod shows, if you listen to, Splathouse or SOVPOD. I don't even know what we call it. I watch movies. I love movies. And I'm an actor, but there's one thing I can't do. And I just can't ever quote a movie after I see it. You know, and I've talked to Stephanie Crawford, who's the co-host of the Screamcast, and she's kind of the same way. We have similar taste in comedy, but she's like, Mike, I also cannot quote funny movies. Like when people tell me quotes, like I don't know what they are. I'm the same way. Repo Man is the only movie outside of maybe kind of sort of Fargo that I could quote. Like where I'm like, that makes sense to me. Or I use quotes all the time. So Sean, here we go. You ready?
Ready. Do this.
So my top quotes from Repo Man that I use almost on a daily basis. So I'm a high school teacher, middle school, high school teacher. If a kid asks me to do something and I'm already busy, I say, "Excuse me while I fold my pants."
Perfect.
Excuse me! Excuse me! Excuse me while I fold my pants! Otto! What? Otto! What? Give me another beer!
If, literally, if a kid asks me if, I could go get food for them, like from the cafeteria, because teachers are not allowed to go get food for the kids from the cafeteria, I'll look at the kid and I'll say, "Let's go get sushi and not pay for it." And they'll look at me like, what the fuck are you doing?
Oh dear, what a shame.
Come on, Duke, let's go do those crimes.
Yeah, let's go get sushi and not pay.
The other thing that I do is like, if I have to, cause look, I'm an upstanding dude, you know, like I follow the rules. If I snitch out a kid for doing some shit that breaks school rules and I have to tell that kid that I broke the school rule, or that they broke the school rules and I turned them in, I look at them and I go, society made me do it.
Oh. Yeah, I'm here, man. The lights are growing dim. I know a life of crime led me to this sorry fate. And yet, I blame society. Society made me what I am. That's bullshit. You're a white suburban punk, just like me. But it still hurts. You're gonna be all right, man. Maybe not.
That's all true. No, I quote Repo Man all the time. It's the best fucking goddamn script in the world.
So what is it about the script that, other than the quotability, that you love? Like, what sets this apart from, say, other films, other movies, like, say, like in your top 10?
If I'm looking at my top 10 includes things like Fargo, which I mentioned earlier, which is another crime story that deals with morality, or The Wizard of Oz, which is like a timeless, like one of the only American fairy tales, you know. Or I think about the documentary, and I've talked with you about this, Sean, American Movie, which has to deal with, I think, you know, predominantly the American dream. I think the thing that I love about Repo Man is how not just like from the moment it was, but how timeless it was at the same time. Cause when it tackles and deals with themes like capitalism or nihilism, like, or even just like the fucking punk rock culture. Like these are themes and ideas that like seep into like subcultures and times beyond, the 80s or this specific moment, you know? And with Repo Man, I think that what I respond to most is the narrative trajectory of the Emilio Estevez Otto character. Otto, right? Do you get that, Sean?
Yeah, Automatics. Yeah.
Auto parts. Do you say that? Do you ever do that? No. All right. Well, they do that in the movie, Sean. It's a line from the movie. No, but this kid, this punk rock kid, who's essentially like a punk, like a nihilist, like he doesn't believe in fucking anything. And then he gets like the one fucking cool job that's regular, and then he becomes like a shill for the man. And it's like this great fucking story about the dude who doesn't believe in anything that becomes like the corporation, like within a very short amount of time. But then the corporation becomes kind of this like philosophical, and you'll love this shit, right, Sean, when we get to it, like this religious idea that there's like other things out there. Like there's things bigger than capitalism. There's things bigger than not believing in anything. Like there's shit that we never even fucking knew, right?
He has a reason though to kind of be nihilistic and pissed off, especially about things bigger than him, because his parents have given his entire money that they had saved for him to go to school. They give it to this televangelist. And so, you know, it's like he's kind of wanting to better himself. And then when he finally decides to do that, because he gets fired from his job at the supermarket, and then his girlfriend leaves him. And so he decides to cash in on his education, and his parents have given it up to this guy, you know, on the TV, promising, I don't know, prayers for money or something like that.
Yeah. And you know, that brings up another great point too, that I say all the time is like, so today, Sean, I was eating, baked beans with chopsticks, and, the girls in my high school class said, shouldn't you go get a fork? And I was eating them with chopsticks. I said, couldn't taste any better. That's all fucking, that's just like Repo Man is my day every fucking day. Like all I could do is quote Repo Man. Should we explain why it's a sci-fi movie? I don't know if have we even talked about how it's...
Yes, I've mentioned the aliens. It's kind of a post-apocalyptic future in a sense. I don't even know if they even say like what year it takes place in, but you know, it's this kind of weird post-apocalyptic future. I don't think like Reagan's mentioned specifically or anything. It's just kind of the ideas of the film, like with capitalism and stuff, right? It kind of exists in its own time or something like that.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment that like we don't specifically say, or Cox doesn't specifically say like this is 1983 and Ronald Reagan is obviously the president, but we have enough cultural references like through some of the other postmodern filmmakers that we've come to accept like nowadays, where like, you know, they talk about like Flintstones or Johnny Carson. Like we could obviously create a timeline where we go, oh, okay, these are the things that have happened until now. And here we are. But no, it's never directly said, this is the time and this is the place. But the place is obviously Los Angeles. Sean, you know, you asked me to give some of my favorite lines from Repo Man, but can you do some of yours? Like what are some of your favorite lines, buddy?
I'm awful legit awful at remembering any kind of lines. Like really bad. Like I'll remember a line as the movie's playing and then I'll start quoting it along. But there's no way that anything gets stuck in my head from that film.
What if I said John Wayne? What would you say after I said John Wayne?
He was a fag.
That's one of the fucking funniest lines ever of any movie ever. All right.
Repo Man don't go running to the man, Marley, and Repo Man goes it alone. It's the Rebob.
Just like John Wayne.
Damn right, just like John Wayne. What's wrong with that?
Greatest American that ever lived. John Wayne was a fag.
What did you say, Melissa? What?
John Wayne was a fag.
The hell he was!
He was too, you boys. I installed two-way mirrors in his pad in Brentwood. And he come to the door in a dress.
You're fucking nuts.
Oh,
That doesn't mean he was a homo, Miller. A lot of straight guys like to watch their buddies fuck.
They do?
No, I do.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Damn straight, I do.
Fuck a John Wayne, man. Tell us his name, you little pussy.
That shit's fucked up, but that shit's funny. What if I said, you're all repo men? What would you do if you said you're all repo men? What's your next action? What do you do?
Dude, I'm awful at this stuff.
You pour out your beer, man. You remember that shit? Like when Emilio Estevez, he brings the car back.
You pull out your nondescript beer.
Yeah, nondescript beer, exactly. Like the generic beer. Anyway, look, I really don't. And Sean, I don't know what the rule is with this, but like if you're like a hip millennial hipster that's been like so woke and dealing with like social issues that you have not watched like a great number of films, including Repo Man, like I don't want to spoil it for you. So you should go watch it. It's fucking amazing. It's funny as shit. But, and it's also a science fiction film. But, Sean, what else do we need to talk about today on our science fiction film podcast, which is XENOPODFROMTHEYEAR 5 000. The first 0 stands for the ones place, the second 0 stands for the tens place, and the third 0 stands for the hundreds place. The 5 is for 5,000. You are listening to Xenopod from the year 5000, man.
We are going in chronological order. So Repo Man was released in 1984. The next Repo type film was unrelated to this world, to Alex Cox, but it is involving repossession of not cars, but organs. It is Repo, the Genetic Opera. This thing, we're going to talk about another Repo of Organs film that came out shortly after this, but this is a musical done by Darren Lynn Bousman, and Darren Lynn Bousman was involved with the Saw series, I believe, he was involved, not with the first one, but with Saw 2, 3, and then 4, I guess, the kind of the middle chapters. So then he decided to do Repo, the Genetic Opera. And this is one of those films that I'd heard a buzz about. And I remember it kind of was building a fan base a little bit, but I kind of felt like it was a little bit forced. I didn't know what you thought about when you were starting to get the rumblings of this crazy opera type movie involving the repossession of people's futuristic organs by a man. He is a repo man.
Well, Sean, it's called repo. So yeah, it's repossession by a man. So maybe he's a repo man. I do not know. But it's Anthony Stewart Head, right? Anthony Stewart Head plays the aforementioned titular. Oh, I love that fucking word, titular. Sean, do you like titch?
Hell yeah, I do.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you like the titch, baby. Anthony Stewart Head plays the titular repo man. And I agree with you that it was forced. I remember this was a time where I was transitioning from my college theater, which happens to be, the moneymaker is musical theater. Yeah, I was transitioning from college theater to professional theater, which happens to be, spoiler alert, musical theater. And and they were like really fucking, like, all the camps involved with this culture at the time were like repo, and I'm like, really? And what you kept hearing was oh, this is the new Rocky Horror. This is the new Rocky Horror. I'm like,
right.
Really? Because Rocky Horror had a couple years to become Rocky Horror. This shit we're talking about comes out in 2 weeks. Like, we don't know what the fuck it is. And I think this was one of the first times where we had like postmodern cinema being sold to us like predate,
because they were doing the sing-along screenings and all that stuff like before it even came out, and it had this crazy, like, somehow hardcore following in certain pockets of the country that I feel like was just, I don't know, like they had street teams and all that kind of stuff. Like they really, this thing was they were trying to get it out there as a cult hit before it even was released.
And Sean, what they'll do is they'll say, look, listen, this shit, we did Repo, exclamation point, the Genetic Opera. We did that shit regionally here, right here in this area. And it was a big hit. Like, that's how you know it's going to be big. But I'll say to you, Sean, that I live in the Bay Area and I was here the whole time. And like, it was not, we never had a fucking performance of it before this movie. And then I go see the movie in the Berkeley cinemas. And, I think it was pre-sold as a musical phenomenon before it was authentically a musical phenomenon. But I also think it was like a self-fulfilling prophecy of being a musical phenomenon because it was bought, paid, and sold as a musical phenomenon.
Oh man. And the music, what struck me was like, so it's an opera, so it's technically not a musical. So operas, like, pretty much almost every single word is sung in an opera. And so this thing is just wall-to-wall music flowing in and out of this movie, song to song. And when I remember when it, because I'd heard the rumblings about it, and I was just like, well, I'm going to buy the soundtrack. So the soundtrack came out, I bought the soundtrack, and I was like, this is okay. Like, it's not like really hitting it as far as like a musical goes. Like these songs, I feel like I had to have seen the film to really enjoy it. But even like, it's been so long since I've seen this movie, and the only one that that sticks in my mind is with that guy with kind of the weird dreads talking about, is it the drugs? He's like selling drugs, right?
Zydrate comes in a little glass vial.
A little glass vial? A little glass vial.
And the little glass vial goes into the gun like a battery. And the Zydrate gun goes somewhere against your anatomy. And when the gun goes off, it sparks and you're ready for surgery. Surgery.
But I also think of like Paul Sorvino, who's like giving it his all in this fucking movie.
Oh man,
like,
he's
Paul
trying.
Sorvino like goes for it. They're like, Paul, come here. Paul, come here. Huddle in, Paul. And Paul comes in for like a fucking NFL huddle or something. And the producer's like, Paul, this is a musical. And Paul, not only is it a musical, it's an opera. And your last name is Sorvino, and that kind of sounds like a pizza restaurant. So I need you to go out there, and I need you to sound like a dude representing a pizza restaurant in an opera. And Paul Sorvino does, God bless his heart, he does what Paul Sorvino does, which is act like Paul Sorvino in a musical in Romeo and Juliet, which he already did, 8 years before that.
Yes.
But,
yes.
But beyond that,
he's channeling that.
like we have Anthony Stewart Head, who was in, of course, Anthony Stewart Head is the shit. Like, that dude should be used in much more things. But, of course, he was used in,
yeah, he's great.
Once More with Feeling, the Buffy musical. And then we, of course, have Paris Hilton from, the sex tape. And then we have, who else? Oh, Bill Moseley, man!
Bill Moseley's in it, man. Yeah.
Fucking Chop Top.
Yeah.
Fucking Chop Top's in this shit.
Sarah Brightman.
You're
Christian.
Well. You love this shit. Yeah, she does Christian music shit, right?
No. I don't remember her from any like Christian things. I don't know what you're talking about there.
I don't know. Like I think Sarah Brightman. I think like Christmas. Does she have like Christmas albums? Maybe? I don't know.
Probably. I don't know. In this picture, she's like super hot, but I mean, other than that, I hadn't really heard of her. Didn't really have any Sarah Brightman albums or anything.
That's your pivot. Like I make it religious, and your pivot is I want to fuck Sarah Brightman.
Well, I mean, right?
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
It's a normal reaction.
High five. No, I'm with you.
At this point in the podcast, I feel it necessary to apologize for Sean and Mike's pure ignorance of Sarah Brightman. At the time, Sean was thinking of Amy Lee from Evanescence, and Mike was thinking of the Christian singer Plum. Both of them were way off and are idiots. We sincerely apologize to Sarah Brightman fans listening to today's show. But I'm looking at, it says albums, and it looks like she's done some stuff. So, Dream Chaser, Symphony, Harem, Eden. She's done a whole lot. She's apparently a pretty prolific singer. But anyway, I digress.
Sarah Brightman's like the redheaded Sarah McLachlan, right?
Sure. The only point of reference I have for Sarah Brightman is she was in Repo the Genetic Opera, and I was told that she did more music, like opera music. That's the only point of reference I have for her, unfortunately.
Can you look up if she's like hardcore Christian right now? This second.
I'm looking. I don't see anything about her being hardcore Christian. I mean, she was married to Andrew Lloyd Webber.
That's the funniest shit I've ever heard. All right. Wait, a woman was married to Andrew Lloyd Webber? That's my big question.
They divorced in 1990?
Oh, they divorced.
They divorced. I'm confused by this timeline. Okay, so she was married to Andrew Graham Stewart until 1983. She married Andrew Lloyd Webber, but they divorced in 1990.
Wait, hold on. She was married to Andrew Graham Stewart. And then she married Andrew Lloyd Webber. Like,
yes.
She has a kink for Andrew with, like, 2 other names. Like,
yes.
If she kept going this way, she was going to marry someone who would shoot up a school or, like, at least, like, from a fucking tower. Like, 3 names, Andrew. Come on now.
We've stayed on Sarah Brightman too long. She was kind of like the, the street cred. Like, we're Repo the Genetic Opera. We got Sarah Brightman because she gives them like the opera cred. So in the future, 2056, there's I guess an epidemic of organ failures, and out of the tragedy of that, Genco says, "Hey, we can fix your shit. Here's you get a new organ, but you're going to be in debt to us. And if you can't make your payments, we're going to take your organ back." So therefore they hire these Repo men to come in and basically take these organs back. And so we have Anthony Head playing Nathan, the Repo Man. And I believe his daughter, we kind of see a lot through his daughter, played by Alexa Vega, I believe. And her name is Shiloh.
From Spy Kids.
So she's realizing what her dad does because he's been keeping it from her, and everything goes from there. The rest of the plot kind of escapes my brain.
I've only ever seen Repo, the Genetic Opera. I saw it one time. I saw it in the movie theater, like a cool badass dude who's like, "Oh, I saw this movie that is like cult and like cool and fun." And no, I saw it one time in the movie theater. I saw it the weekend of my birthday, because my birthday is November 10th. So I went and saw every new movie that weekend in 2008, which included Repo, the Genetic Opera, and a movie I like a lot more for another podcast. Definitely not this one ever, but it's a movie called JCVD, which stands for Jean-Claude Van Damme. I got a boner. Yeah, that's a good one. But no, I saw those 2 movies at the same time. And like running Splathouse. I almost called it Splatcast. We haven't fucking done that shit forever. But running Splathouse and like being a part of like musical theater in the Bay Area, people they like this movie comes up a lot, and I feel the same way you feel, Sean, like where it's kind of like this forced musical extravaganza, and I don't know. I don't really have an answer for it besides the fact that I saw it once in a movie theater and I kind of liked it and I kind of forgot about it, and now I'm kind of talking about it 10 years later on a podcast and that's it.
Yeah. Well, I remember the week that it came out, it was $8 in Best Buy. Like, it came out and they were like, "Oh shit, let's just get rid of this thing." I love the idea that if you get a new organ and you can't pay for it, someone's going to rip it out. I love that aspect of it. So moving on to that aspect, like, hey, Mike, what if someone took this idea, Mike Delaney, and made a serious attempt at a movie about men hired to rip out organs of people who can't pay for them?
How do you keep track of all those things you got in there?
Let's see. Pancreas and kidneys from the diabetes. One went bad outside warranty. Had to go black market on the replacement. Liver, stomach and lungs. Thanks to the Q habit.
Stop.
Black sore door joints. Billion step warranty.
Stop.
Ask me about my lips.
Okay. Query, Sean. Sean?
Yes.
Can Ghost Dog be in it?
Yes, Ghost Dog can fucking be in this movie.
All right. I want to call it Repo Man. And I want to fucking serve it to Alex Cox. I want to call it Repo Man. And I want to fucking Alex Cox with his shit with. Oh, I want to give it to him so bad.
Well, wait. What if we call this?
Okay.
It's based on a novel. Eric Garcia wrote this. What if we just call it The Repossession Mambo instead of kind of making it seem like it's going to be linked to Repo Man or something?
Sean, stop. You sound so white. Say Mambo again.
Mambo.
No, come on, Sean. Say it one
I'm an
more
LA
time.
executive. I'm super white and super rich.
All right. Say, hey, Mambo, repossession. Say it like that. Sing it.
Hey, Mambo. Mambo repossession. Mambo.
No, you don't say. No. Look, Rosemary Clooney. We could at least pretend she was doing the Italian thing. You can't do it. So no, we're not going to call it Mambo repossession. I think of the Mambo Kings, right? Like that's Antonio Banderas. And can you say Banderas?
Gotcha. Banderas. Antonio Banderas. How's that?
That's
okay?
that's the most I've authentically heard you try to say an artist's name. Say Dario Argento. Say Dario Argento.
Dario Argento.
All right, now say Antonio Banderas.
Antonio Banderas.
All right, there you go. You do. You say it, man. You say it like Mimi from fucking Drew Carey. Like you know how to pronounce his name. But no. All right. So wait, what? It was called the Mambo Repossession. What the fuck was it called?
It was called the Repossession Mambo, the book by Eric Garcia. They decided to change it to Repo Man. Universal did because they knew Alex Cox had the rights to, or had they were kind of sparring back and forth because Alex Cox had kind of wanted to do a sequel to Repo Man, and Universal Studios is like, "Fuck you, Alex Cox. We're gonna do Repo Men." And so there was a little bit of a legal battle, and a little bit later we'll talk about the kind of the fuck you that Alex Cox decided to send their way, although it like crashed and burned. But we'll talk about it in a little bit here. But Repo Men almost is like a straight like a non-musical version of Repo the Genetic Opera, and I'm wondering if Repo the Genetic Opera owes Eric Garcia some cash, right? I mean, these are very similar stories, or unless this is kind of like a Volcano versus what's that other volcano movie that came out the same year? Dante's Peak.
Dante's Peak. Sean Drager, shut your fucking mouth. It's called Dante's Peak. You show a little fucking respect
Dante's
to the
Peak.
volcano movies.
Or like Armageddon and what's
Deep Impact. You show a little fucking respect to meme leaders. Deep Impact. Or it's like Ants and A Bug's Life. No, I get it, Sean. There's 2 movies every year that come out that are kind of tangentially related, but this is not the same.
But this is 2 years. This is 2 years apart. 2 years apart.
Yeah, I know it is. Yeah, so there's no excuse.
I believe this movie created Miguel Sapochnik's career and also killed it. Because he hasn't really done a movie since. Jude Law plays Remy, a Repo Man. Forrest Whitaker as Jake. And Liev Schreiber plays Remy's boss.
What are your top 3 Jude Law movies ever?
I like his character in AI, Artificial Intelligence. I like how he tries to play this teeth-stained bad guy in Road to Perdition. He was just in a film that I saw that I loved him in, Black Sea.
I like him in Gattaca a lot. I like him in Shopping. You seen this one, Shopping, that Paul W.S. Anderson did before he made Mortal Kombat, or definitely before he made Event Horizon, where it's this like hyper British movie where they crash cars into shopping mall stores and like steal shit from the stores, but it's called Shopping with Jude Law. That one's really good. what did I say? Gattaca, and then, so that's 2. And then I would say I love him. I fucking love him as the, narrator, in the Lemony Snicket, Jim Carrey movie. I love him as Lemony Snicket in the Jim Carrey movie. I don't love that Jim Carrey movie at all. I'm a big fan of Lemony Snicket, and I think Jude Law's voice and like his cadence that he provides to that is amazing. And my friend Josh Conkle at Netflix, he needs to go ahead and hire Jude Law back to read some sides instead of Patrick Warburton, who's also good. Patrick Warburton's good. But.
So I think we find out that Remy has an organ that he's had installed. Therefore, then he ends up where he can't pay for it anymore. So he becomes like a man on the run, even though he is a repo man. I haven't seen this thing since it came out, but I love this flick because I think of the insane gore that they just throw in there. They kind of just said like, fuck it, like this thing's a piece of shit. Let's just gory it up and kind of show them people ripping their rib cages open and taking out organs. And then near the end, there's this really weird kind of sexy time scene where he's ripping out someone's organ. I believe the love interest, played by Alice Braga. Do you remember anything about this film?
No, I've never seen this in my entire life. So this is like a fun moment I want to play with you on a podcast in front of other people, I guess. But like,
yeah.
All right, so Sean, I literally know nothing about this movie.
Mm-hmm. It's Repo the Genetic Opera, basically played straight, unless, but you know, or it kind of like maybe The Fugitive mixed in there as well.
So I don't know anything about this movie, and I swear to fucking God, I'm not making this up. This is not a bit. Sean, can you look up and see if the organ that Jude Law had installed that he can't pay for, is it his heart? I want to see if we could write this screenplay right now.
Yes, something happens and he becomes a recipient of an artificial heart. And then of course, guess who has to pursue him?
Oh wait, stop. Yeah, his former partner, right?
His best buddy and partner, Forrest Whitaker.
It's compact, it's safe, it's comfortable, everything you want in a new liver. The price, $756,000.
Let me just reassure you that our credit department will find a plan that fits your lifestyle.
He'll sign it. Everybody signs it.
But what they don't tell you is if you can't pay the bills, some union man will break into your house and reclaim our property.
I can pay.
Sorry, that's not my department.
Live up. What are you, hanging out at AA meetings?
We got a time bomb. My name's Remy. That's my best friend, Jake. We grew up together, and now we work together.
Yeah, a job's a job.
What do you think keeps a world together? It's rules. It's people abiding by the terms of the deals that they sign themselves. How's your pancreas holding up? I sent the money in this morning. We're always gonna be repo.
From the IRS?
Nah.
They won't give me a new heart?
No. No, your credit history.
You're a very lucky man, you know that? What you're looking at here is the new heart module, top of the line.
Get it out. No time at all. You're gonna be back on your game. You're gonna be knocking them down. You've done this 1,000 times. What is wrong with you? Falling behind on payments.
Your repo. They'll come for you too.
Who do you think Frank's gonna send after me? Maybe me. Wherever we go, wherever we hide, they'll find us.
What do you want to do?
Finish this. Take me out of the system.
Give me your heart. Or we could come up with a plan that fits your, now he's yours. End it, Jake. now.
I'm not letting you go. I can't go back.
Repo Man.
I mean, this is by the numbers, pulpy, trashy, B-level science fiction stuff. I mean, I'm wondering how much this actually came from the book itself and how they just kind of, you know, cut the book up and just made it as accessible as possible and as simple as possible, because this is by the numbers. You know, by the numbers. Like, of course, his best friend's going to be pursuing him. Of course, there's going to be near the end when they finally catch up to each other, and there's going to be some conflict there and everything. And, but I mean, I just loved, I mean, it's totally disposable, but the effects are pretty great and it's gory as hell. And I just kind of liked the, you know, I liked that aspect of it, that it was just this R-rated goofy piece of trash. And I like that it was like the attempt at some serious non-musical take on the story of somebody repossessing organs. Cause I think that idea is fantastic. I mean, you know, you think about it, man. I mean, you know, what if you had an artificial heart and you couldn't make the payments cause you bought too many Blu-rays, or, you know, maybe like, you just are bad at managing money or something like that.
Why are you so fucking judgy, man? And like, I kind of would prefer, I think, even though like Jude Law's hot, Forrest Whitaker, yeah, he got the Oscar for The Last King of Scotland, whatever. But like, I'm kind of into the idea that Paris Hilton might have something to do with a song about getting my kidney to her dad. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm kind of into that. Like, it's maybe my kink. It's a little bit my kink. Sean, it's totally my kink. Totally. You know, I messed up when I said that Miguel Sapochnik I said he hasn't really done much. He's directed a shit ton of Game of Thrones episodes, so I apologize. He actually won an award for outstanding directing for a drama series at the 68th Primetime Emmy Awards, so I apologize to any Miguel Sapochnik fans. So I guess he's been, you know, a lot of Game of Thrones. Oh shit. And, he's directed some episodes of, Altered Carbon. Holy shit. He hasn't done any feature films since. I digress. We have more to talk about. Sean, are you ready for this shit? I don't know what a Game of Thrones is. I have not seen an episode of Game of Thrones. I have not seen an episode of The Walking Dead. You're a liar. I have not seen an episode of Breaking Bad. I haven't seen any of this shit. Wow. Listen. If you make it a musical with Paris Hilton, I will watch it. I don't know what it is otherwise. Which is the problem I think Alex Cox had when he decided to not make a sequel to Repo Man, but to kind of do a spiritual successor in 2009 called Repo Chick.
Up any sort of deal? They told me to get a job.
You guys are Repo Men. Man, I saw a movie about you.
Pixie, there's your first assignment. You see a big old trailer at the end of the street? We need to liberate that.
You have 30 seconds to vacate this property. 10, 9, 8.
The problem, she's too good. Since yesterday, she has ripped 5 cars, 3 planes, 6 shopping malls, and 2 places of worship.
3 antique railroad car, $1 million reward?
Forget it, Pinky. That antique railroad car is an urban myth to encourage typical no-hoper jerk-offs like you.
I saw the entire train, 3 cars and a locomotive. August, assign me that train. I found the train.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard. Since you have declined to join our righteous cause, I will be obliged to detain you.
Pixie, if you fail, mortgage defaults will continue to rise, forcing more repossessions. Bailouts will cease to save us. Bankers will stop making loans. Zero credit, a worldwide recession, and thus the end of the repo trade.
Do you ever experience a feeling that you might just be created by a mad scientist as part of a tabletop experiment?
Now, I'm looking at the timeline here. I thought I was going to go in chronological order. I did not. Repo Men came out in 2010. Repo Chick came out in 2009. Therefore, pissing Universal Studios right the fuck off. Hence, the naming of Repo Men was their fuck you to Alex Cox, I believe. So he shares the rights. They share the rights together. Like they did some sort of contract where he has half the rights. Universal Pictures has half the rights to Repo Man. Therefore, they can't do a proper sequel. So they neither of them can produce a true sequel without the other's consent.
That's the way I understand it, at least.
Yeah.
Now that I said the thing that we agreed to.
When Repo Chick came out, Universal Pictures threatened Alex Cox with a cease and desist order. Then they released Repo Men, which Cox suggested, I guess, was deliberately titled to exploit interest in his film and to confuse audiences into believing it was a sequel. No litigation happened. I guess that was their thing. They're like, well, fine, you name your movie Repo Chick, we're gonna name our movie Repo Men. Fuck you, bye-bye. And this came out. Repo Men looking a lot better in the special effects departments than Repo Chick. He filmed Repo Chick he wrote it with a $7 million budget in mind. But I believe he only got about $200,000 and all he had access to was a green screen, soundstage and 10 days of shooting. This movie's a mess.
I guess. Hey, Sean, maybe instead of talking about Repo Chick, do you want to go back to talking about Repo Man? Let's do that. Sean,
are we derailing the entire episode, talking about these things?
I don't know. I do that shit all the time. Haven't you ever heard me and Sarah talk on Splathouse?
We don't really want to spend a whole lot of time on Repo Chick, other than the fact that this thing is a major disappointment. I think everyone's trying hard with what they got. I got to give everyone kind of an A for effort, E for effort. I don't know how you're the teacher. I don't know how that works.
Well, the American expression is we say A for effort.
Okay, right.
That's ironic because we say A for effort, and effort, of course, does not begin with the letter A. It begins with the letter P for perfect. You got my joke.
Oh man, we do have to let people know about the plot of Repo Chick, and then we can just move on. But it's a really, like, the lead character's name Pixie, and she's this spoiled brat. She's like an heiress or something of like some LA family, and her parents, because of her, I guess, scandals, they disinherit her and tell her she has to find a real job. Her car gets repossessed, and I guess she decides to become a repossessor, but they don't repossess just cars and stuff. They'll repossess like homes and different things like that. So it's almost like the same bit of a premise on a grizzled repo man taking on an apprentice. In her case, as a repo chick. And, there's also something about like a train, and all the trains, like everything's models. Like we're talking like, what's that European, British or whatever train show, Thomas the Train. It's like he borrowed a bunch of sets from Thomas the Train, and that was what he would superimpose to the green screen. And those are your special effects. And there's some plot about like some eco-terrorists that they want to turn everyone into vegans, but if no one becomes vegan, that they're going to bomb LA. They're going to bomb LA with nuclear bombs stuck on this train. Am I anywhere close to getting this plot somewhat correct?
No, you're very close to the plot, and you got it correct. I get hung up with the application of the green screen, because I think of what was happening around this time with like Robert Rodriguez and Frank Miller and Tarantino making Sin City, right? They make Sin City in 2004, 2005. It's at the time it's like, oh, it's a green screen movie, like one of the first green screen movies. Then shortly after that, we have Zack Snyder becoming inspired after Dawn of the Dead to make his green screen, quote unquote, green screen movie with 300, also a Frank Miller production. And then we're like 2 years after that, and we're still having these green screen movies. Like there's I guess in this interim there's Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow, a bunch of other things happening.
The Star Wars prequels are basically green screen movies.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I mean, around that time, everyone was like, "Oh, just put everyone in front of a green screen and put it all in later," and with various mixed results of quality.
But by the time we get to 2009, it becomes much more like economically viable for like an independent filmmaker. So say someone who was bigger, decades earlier, like an Alex Cox, who was making fucking almost Academy Award caliber, even though the Academy Awards are fucking bullshit, but like Academy caliber movies with like Sid and Nancy, where you're like, oh, Gary Oldman should have gotten an Oscar. Didn't he win an Oscar for playing Sidney Vicious? Like that type of thing. And then now he's back to kind of this independent punk rock camp, ironically, because that's where he started. But like now these $200,000 filmmakers could make these green screen movies. And that's where I think like Repo Chick starts, where it's like, we don't necessarily need these live, locations in Los Angeles with like the LA River or these other places we used in the film prior, but we could just put a bunch of people in front of a green screen and figure it out later. And that's much more economically viable in 2009 than it was like 5 years earlier in 2004, right? And I think that's where like a lot of the shortcuts were made with this like intersection of ability and economics and like 2009, man, that was kind of a sweet spot where you could make a really fucking shitty movie in front of a green screen and still sell it. And like that's where VOD first started happening was around 2009. So you could be like, oh, this brand new movie that's from the director of da 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 da. Like it's not just Alex Cox. It was happening in other places as well. And like that was kind of a sweet spot.
Oh, it's a stylistic thing. We're doing this on purpose. And the cars are kind of too small and they're too big for their cars and everything. And when they're driving down the roads, it's ridiculous. But, do you like, if the distraction of the green screen wasn't there, do you feel like Repo Chick may, like, say they did the plot of Repo Chick, this crazy plot of Repo Chick in like the Repo Man style, where it's a little more down to earth and gritty. Do you think it would work, or is it just too far gone? Because this script is not as good at all, or memorable or quote worthy as Repo Man. Like somehow he had lost his kind of grasp on like the society, in the late 2000s, and
objectively, like it's not as good as Repo Man. Like anyone could fucking read that or see that, but I think like the bigger case is we have a filmmaker who's kind of like outgrown his britches. Like it's why we hear all the time about like a Clerks 3 script, but we don't see a Clerks 3 movie or play or comic book or whatever fucking form it's going to take. Because like nowadays there's all these like checks and balances for this type of property, Whereas I think, again, like, not to beat a dead horse, but I think in 2009, like, we didn't have this whole reboot thing down. We didn't have this whole green screen thing down. We didn't have this whole VOD thing down. So there was kind of this sweet spot for, like, this retro filmmaker who was trying to bring back a property and kind of had, like, a half-baked script. And, like, it was kind of a sweet spot for, like, getting it produced, getting it out there, getting it to people. And, you know, he didn't have to check it with folks, which is cool. I'm for that. Like, you don't need a fucking committee to approve your script. Like, who gives a shit about that? But I think when it's a property that is tangentially related to something like iconic, like Repo Man, or, you know, I made jokes earlier, or not jokes, but I made references earlier to, like, Clerks, like a Kevin Smith. Like, you'd think that they'd at least care what the populace might have, like, thought about this going into it, or immediately, like, when it comes out, so you can kind of, like, readjust, or, I don't know, figure out your own narrative. But yeah, no, it's definitely not as timely or timeless as Repo Man.
But it is interesting, I guess, to see his attempt. But it fails gloriously. And if people want to check it out, I coughed up money and I actually bought the Blu-ray of this. But it is available on, like, Amazon Prime, right? Or is it available to rent at least? Because I couldn't find it anywhere. I was trying to find it to rent it.
Yeah, it's available to rent on Amazon Prime. And then there's a couple... I don't know how the fucking rights work to it, but there's like a Blu-ray of it that costs like $35 in the US, and then there's a Blu-ray of it that costs like $12 in the US.
I got the $12 one.
Yeah.
$12 is too much. I would say rent this son of a bitch.
For sure. I'm a big Alex Cox, like, apologist. Look, we mentioned Repo Man. We mentioned, Straight to Hell. Everyone should fucking watch Straight to Hell. Everyone should watch, Sean said, Sid and Nancy, which I think is available now on Criterion Blu-ray. Features
gorgeous.
Gary Oldman, this year's, Academy Award nominee for playing Winston Churchill, right? In a Joe Wright movie. He plays, Sid Vicious. He plays Sid Vicious in the Sex Pistols, like, autobiography, or biodrama. It's not autobiography. I know what autobiography means. Shut up. Don't fucking yell at me, internet person. I know what it means. And then, Alex Cox also made Walker with, Ed Harris. One of my favorite movies Alex Walker made is, Alex Walker. I'm just fucking, Alex Cox made is, it's called Three Businessmen. And he's actually the star of this thing with Miguel Sandoval, the guy who plays, Archie, the kind of dumb, punk with the mohawk in Repo Man, who's like, I'm King Archie. Oh, don't you know me, Dookie? He's also the dude in Jurassic Park, who's like, who like looks at the amber with the mosquito in the rock. Remember that, Latino guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's him from fucking Repo Man, Miguel Sandoval. What? Yeah. He plays the lead in this movie called Three Businessmen. Really fucking funny movie with a lot of one-take shots. So if you're a filmmaker or a fan of films with these glorious one-takes, you'll like this movie called Three Businessmen. It's a comedy starring Alex Cox and Miguel Sandoval as art dealers trying to find a perfect restaurant. So it's a bit like the satire of like a Repo Man or an Alex Cox movie meets what would I call it? Like my dinner with Andre, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. He also made a movie called Revenger's Tragedy with Christopher Eccleston, of course, the Ninth Doctor from Doctor Who. No, man, Alex Cox is fucking great, and You know, that tragedy of the mid-aughts where you have the green screen. Yeah, he fell victim to that, but he's a fucking badass dude with more than a handful of great movies.
He did do Straight to Hell Returns.
Yeah, that's a re-edit of
remastered and recut version. Oh.
Yeah.
That's crazy. All right. Well, we wish Alex Cox all the best. Not just because his last name is Cox, but we are definitely fans. And I need to. I definitely, man. I need to check out Straight to Hell. I can't believe I've never seen that. And I definitely need to catch Walker because Ed Harris is the man, and Ed Harris in kind of a Western setting is even better. I'm a huge fan of Westworld. And I love Ed Harris in there, and I really need to see Walker. So I need to track that down. But and
again, Sean, Walker's a true story.
I know.
You know,
he becomes like a president of Nicaragua or something. I can't talk right now.
Yeah, and and like, how are you a fan of Joe Strummer and the Clash, and you know the song from Combat Rock? Man, Straight to Hell.
Yes,
Straight to Hellboy, right?
Dude.
Yeah, there you go. Elvis
what is
Costello.
Wrong with me?
Elvis Costello's in that goddamn movie, my friend.
Put me in the punk rock jail. I am not. I cannot be called I can't be associated with punk rock anymore. I have failed the ultimate test. That was probably the first question on the punk rock test that I missed and didn't take. I would have failed. I would have never ever considered myself a punk rock kid.
Sean, I don't want to get out of this episode of the podcast without talking a little bit more, real quick, about the punk rock of Repo Man, because here's the thing: we talk about. I think all the time in film culture we talk about movies that are like, oh, this is the black movie from the 90s that everyone should know, or like this is the hip hop film from the early aughts that everyone should know. But I think that Repo Man is legitimately like the punk rock movie from the 80s that personifies like the punk rock movement like authentically. Not like it's not like this fake faux, like we're wearing punk rock is Green Day bullshit. Like it's
right.
Like
it's pre-Hot Topic punk rock.
Yeah, no, we're talking about like before Black Flag was a thing, before like the Circle Jerks were a thing.
Yeah.
Before like that sweet period when like Iggy Pop was like a name where you're like, yes, from the late 60s with the Stooges, or the 70s with David Bowie, and then now he's transitioning. You know, they used Iggy Pop for his title track Repo Man, like so authentically in this, but goddamn, like this soundtrack like fucks, like this whole fucking thing is great.
Suicidal Tendencies, Circle Jerks, like you mentioned, Black Flag, Iggy Pop. This is some good shit.
But not only is it Suicidal Tendencies, it's fucking institutionalized. Like, people don't get that the radio hit that they know is like from Repo Man, or
right.
What else do I quote? Oh, all the time from the soundtrack, man. I quote Pablo Picasso was never called an asshole. Because I would think about that shit all the time in high school, man. Like I had this high school art teacher that all the time, man, she preached about how Pablo Picasso was such like a womanizer and a misogynist, and like that's true. Like look it up. Like that's just fucking true. But like what I would think about all the time was the Repo Man soundtrack, and Pablo Picasso was never called an asshole. And I remember I had this bonding moment with her where like I told her like why I thought like her rants on Pablo Picasso were funny because of this song from Repo Man, or like what I knew at the time. And And she goes, that is ironic. That is irony in art. So that's the great thing about punk rock, though, man. It's irony in art at the best.
Hell yes.
When I was doing the Kickstarter not Kickstarter, what did I do? Indiegogo. I did Indiegogo for Medias Res, the feature film I made. Part of the feature film I made was based off. Sean, you saw my movie, right?
Yes.
Part of the genesis of the project was from Repo Man. Like, what's in the fucking trunk of this car? We made a neo-noir and like, what's in the trunk? But that's all just like fucking Repo Man. So when we did the Indiegogo, part of the campaign, like what I would give away is I gave away soundtracks of Repo Man, since it was an inspiration to me.
I wanted to read really quick, Roger Ebert's, blurb on Repo Man. He says, he goes, I saw Repo Man near the end of a busy stretch on the movie beat, 3 days during which I saw more relentlessly bad movies than during any comparable period in memory. Most of those bad movies were so cynically constructed out of formula ideas and, quote, commercial ingredients that watching them was an ordeal. Repo Man comes out of left field, has no big stars, didn't cost much, takes chances, dares to be unconventional, is funny, and works. There is a lesson here. That's Roger Ebert on January 1st, 1984.
One of my favorite movies of all time. It's fucking funny. It's imaginative. It's it's as satire goes, like it's deep, it's biting, it's got a great like sonic landscape. No, Repo Man's the shit, man. Like top 5 for me of all time.
Hell yes. All right. Well, Mike Delaney I'm tired of THESOVPOD.
No, stop.
The T stands
Don't fuck
for
it up. Stop! Sean, you're gonna fuck it up. Alright, so, for everybody listening here tonight, this is Mike D from THESOVPOD. The THE stands for the, and you are listening to the Xenopod from the year 5000, man. We are here with host Sean DeRager. Don't ask me to spell it for him. He will spell it for you, bitch babies. He is going to send us out tonight. Sean, take it away.
Thank you all for listening. We'll talk to all of you next month. Stephanie Crawford will be joining us next month. Her and I will be talking 1982 drugged out science fiction opus Liquid Sky, out now on Vinegar Syndrome, where all fine discs are sold. We'll talk to all of you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Xenopod from the year 5000, gonna profile Repo Man, Night Man. Xenopod from the year 5000, gonna profile. Xenopod from the year 5000, gonna profile Repo Man, 1984. A quintessential cult film of the 1980s. Alex Cox is this singular sci-fi comedy. Stars the always captivating Harry Dean Stanton as a weathered Repo Man in a desolate Los Angeles. Emilio Estevez is a nihilistic middle-class punk he takes under his wing. The job becomes more than either of them bargained for when they get involved in repossessing a mysterious and otherworldly Chevy Malibu with a hefty award attached to it. Featuring ultimate early 80s LA punk soundtrack, this grungily hilarious odyssey is also a politically trenchant take on President Reagan's domestic and foreign policies. Xenopod from the year 5000, gonna profile Repo Man, Night Man. Xenopod from the year 5000, gonna profile.